But right now, I want to get everybody else involved and jump into the topic today. Let me bring up my handy dandy notes here for generalists versus specialists. I want to talk a little bit about specialists, a little bit about generalists, and a third option. And, I don't think it's one thing. I think to me, it really depends on the reader and what they're trying to do. And are they new? How long have they been doing this kind of thing? Um, Let me take a look here. So for the case for specialists, picking a niche, right? So there's the expert factor. When you specialize, you become the go-to person. If someone has a heartache, they want the heart specialist, not a general practitioner. Higher pricing power, the more specialized. Think of doctors, general what do they call those now? Primary care physician versus a neurosurgeon,
Right.
easier marketing. The content writes itself. Um, shadow work for Scorpios. I mean, it's like if you're niched into one thing and you're the past life person or love and romance or finance or whatever it is, you know, the marketing gets so much easier,
hmm
and um, it's easier for others to refer you to, oh, you're having business problem, go see Dax, you know, that kind of thing.
hmm
Um, so in the chat, if anybody's, watching, listening, if you could only read for one topic for the rest of your life, love, career, or spiritual growth, what would it be? Drop it in the comments there. The case for generalist, okay, reading on everything. And I think this is what the majority of people go for. And tarot readers are one of the few services where I think generalist is still a good thing. And I'll get more into that when I get to part three, which is the third option that we didn't talk about. So let's see, generalist, holistic accuracy. So life is not compartmentalized. A generalist can see that a client's, relationship problem is actually more of a money stress thing in disguise. So you're able to bounce around more if you're not niched into one thing. Variety and longevity, you don't get bored. 1 hour you're doing a past life reading, then you're discussing a corporate promotion. This keeps the energy fresh and prevents burnout from repetitive questions. Wider net for beginners. So especially if you're a beginner, when you're new, being a generalist allows you to discover what you're good at. So if you do 100 readings and you find out that 95% of the time they're asking this particular question, then you can niche down on that. Client retention, you can grow with your clients. So you initially see them for like a love reading, and then they come to you later for navigation with their career, and then life purpose, spirituality. You become their lifelong advisor. um so does anybody feel trapped by the idea of picking a niche? Let us know in the comments there. Um and me personally, I hate being put in a box. I do kind of specialize, obviously, helping other spiritual entrepreneurs, and I'm really good with career and stuff, but I hate that. Hate that. So what's the third option? The third option is you are the niche. Personal branding. Okay. Instead of what do I read on, who am I? In a saturated market, there's millions of love readers, but there's only one person with your specific voice, life experience, and energy. Your niche isn't a topic, it's you and your vibe. And I really think, yeah, this is good for a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, I hear it on YouTube a lot now. It's a big thing now where you are the niche. But I think it's really, really true for spiritual entrepreneurs, tarot readers, astrologers, numerologists, psychic mediums, the whole gambit. Your origin story is your marketing. Did you survive a divorce? Did you quit a corporate job to read tarot? That story attracts people going through the same thing, and your story is going to be different. You're going to have all different kinds of nuances to it. You aren't just reading cards, you are selling empathy based on experience. So the vibe filter, you are the best. Are you the best friend with a glass of wine and you're chit chatting? Are you the strict auntie reader? Are you the mystical high priestess reader? That's Dr. Rose. And yesterday she had the bandana on and everything.
Right.
I am not kidding. But by the way, I love your hair better like that. So,
Thank you.
you can pick what you're going to go into here.
Hmm.
And then let's see. Combining tarot with your other passions. So tarot plus art, creative block readings, tarot plus a therapy background, trauma informed tarot,
Mm.
tarot plus pop culture, the Swifty tarot reader. I love it. By the way, I did not come up with this stuff. AI did. I asked AI to write this for me. Exactly. Yeah. Um, Yeah. So notice patterns. If 90% of your clients are asking about ex partners, the universe might be handing you your niche. And don't overthink the label. Start as a generalist and learn your skills.
Yeah.
So in the chat, here's something for you guys. In 3 words, how would you best describe your personality? Sassy, deep, funny. What's your brand? Put it in the chat. I'd love to hear what everybody has to say. But anyway, that's what I've got. I'd like to get everybody else's opinion. Who wants to jump in? Pamela, Gary, Rose, um, generalist or
Um,
specialist?
I will jump in a little bit and try to make this as concise as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel it depends on what you want and where you want to work and how you want to set up your business.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if you are planning to work a lot of psychic fairs, a lot of carnivals, a lot of events, a lot of private parties, then, or you want to read at a cult bookstore, then you're going to want to focus on being a generalist because you
Hmm.
never know who's going to walk up to you or where the conversation is going to be. Now, if you're planning on opening up your own brick and mortar, opening up on the internet, and setting out your shingle on the internet, then you may want to take a more specialized look at it and focus on what you enjoy on doing for all the reasons you said, Dax. Especially you can charge higher rates because you're a specialist,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your marketing becomes easier because it's easier to know your story. Now, the downside that people think about being a specialist, whenever I talk to my clients and I'm trying to advise them on situations, they always look at me and go, well, if I niche down, whether it's business, whether it's money, whether it's love, whatever it is, am I losing potential leads? Because if you're a generalist, your clients are everyone. And I always tell them the same thing. If you try to talk to everybody, you end up speaking to no one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you niche down, yes, you're going to be limiting that pool of people. But
Hmm.
most likely, those pool of people are going to become your rabid fans because they're going to be passionate about what they need advice
Right.
on. And they're going to stick with you. They're
Yep.
going to pay higher rates and they're going to
Refer you
bring
out
other
too.
people to you. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, this is not to say you should do that. Do with what your heart says is right, but understand that if you're going into a party atmosphere or a fair atmosphere and
Mm-hmm.
you're niching down, you're not going to be very good.
Yeah. Or doing a psychic fair, like, Pamela does a lot of those.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
When I first started, I worked psychic fairs, private parties,
Hmm.
and at occult bookstores. And everything was general reading. When it transferred over to my own business, I niched down to working with heart-based entrepreneurs building their business online, and also artistic and creative entrepreneurs, graphic artists, um,
Hmm.
comic book artists, authors, writers. Because while I loved helping those people and I loved helping make their business, I didn't want to deal with an accountant or a lawyer. Those things bore me. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
also a plus
Or finance.
for niching down. You get to choose who you
Yeah.
want to work with.
Right, right. And it does, it doesn't really have to be a topic either. This just popped in my head. Who do you like being around and talking to and working with? That can be its own niche. So, like for me, for instance, I hang out a lot of my time at veteran service organizations. So my niche doesn't have to be romance or finance. My niche
Mhm.
can be people 55 and older that are veterans that belong to the American Legion, veterans of foreign wars, disabled American veterans. I go to all those posts, and I'm a veteran. So I relate well to other veterans and younger veterans too, Gulf War veterans and so forth like that. I was way before that. I mean, Reagan was president. Anyway, rather have him as commander in chief though. Just saying. But anyway, uh oh my God, Bush. Anyway, um yeah, so who do you want to work with? Maybe you do a lot with, I don't know, um, uh, people in their women in their 30s and 40s that just started a family or is about to start a family, and you do a lot with those groups of people, or they seem to be, most of your friends seem to be in that category. Well, you can tailor your readings to that group of people. um I also think the idea of niching, where you are the niche, fits tarot really well, because like you can still niche and do your online presence and your online campaigns aimed at a particular demographic or a particular problem you solve for people. But at the same time, do psychic fairs, do in-person readings, have your clientele that are going to ask you whatever. And by the way, you'll get that anyway. Even if you niche down and only see people for career, you're eventually going to get other clients and people suggested to you and so forth like that. Same thing with like being a hypnotherapist. You might uh, be in the specialization that you help people quit smoking, but people are still going to come to you and say, yeah, you helped Joe quit smoking. Can you help me lose weight? You're still going to get the general thing. What about you, Pam? So you do the psychic fairs, and of course, that's whatever question comes. Have you ever niched down? Do you have a specific kind of audience or something?
Oh, I do. Um, and the only reason I do psychic fairs and events like that is because I live in a town where there's over 100 languages spoken, and of
Wow.
the 15,000 people that supposedly live here, I would see maybe 1,200 would be interested in tarot and readings. Okay, so I go to where the clientele is. And do I have a niche? No, I don't. You know me well enough to know that I don't really want to bother with soulmate readings and When is he going to come back to me? Love reading.
Oh, I
And I
think.
mean, let's face it, the deck that I use is not really designed for that. Um, what it tends to do is off of, is he going to come back to me? Because the answer is probably no. You don't really need cards to see that either. But
Mhm.
what they're going to do is turn it around and say, okay, this is where you need to work. This is what you need to work on, and who you need to work on is nothing else. Let's get you in line. Let's get you whole. Let's gather the broken pieces, put them all back together, and see what kind of image we have. Um, so it to me it's what I niche. No, not necessarily. But when somebody sits down and asks me, I need to know who my soulmate is. I'm going to take my time. I'll probably take at least 10 minutes, maybe 15, and explain to them why that isn't what you should be asking. Why and who and when and how, all of those questions will be answered. But let's get you on track first, because if you're not on track, you're going to fall into the same trap you've been in over and over again. One had brown eyes, one had hazel, one had blue, some had green. Doesn't matter. You've always got the same repetitive pattern and you're trying to break that pattern. Let's find out how to break it. That's mine. So maybe I do have
Yes.
a niche.
Maybe. I don't know. Dan said something. I think he messed up one of the words here, but Pamela is the all not KNOT. I think he meant to say something else. Tarot goddess. I think he
Probably
meant
it's
to say
not.
something else.
I'm just kidding.
Uh, but
Dan.
yeah, you are the tarot goddess. You are a niche of you're the third one that I said. You are um now I forgot what it was. The You are the niche where
Hmm.
where you are the niche. Personal brand. You're a brand unto yourself, Pamela Steele. And people get to know you, and you've been on these shows, and you've been to the conferences, and you have all the decks and books and everything. So they really get to know, like, and trust. Um, and then there might be a niche as well, but I think you're just the brand, really. What about you,
Yeah.
Rose?
Um, I think it depends upon what I agree with Gary that it depends upon what you're doing. And like, Pamela was saying, where she lives and, the setup and everything like that. What I've been looking at is people online, tarot readers online who are offering their services. So I looked a lot at Etsy and how you, many people have very general readings and they're usually pretty low in price, like $1 here or something like that. That is to bring people in, people who are new, who are looking for a tarot reader. It's cheap. Then you can ask one question, a yes or no, or whatever it is, right? Love question or what have you. Then I would see that same person have more specialized kind of topics. Sometimes it's just a broad thing. Most of the time you'll see, you know, um, a love thing. Is this the one, your soulmate, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, love and relationships are the biggest topic. It's the most popular one that people tend to ask, tarot readers. So you can do a bit of both. When you're dealing with an online store, you want to attract people who don't know you if you're new on the set or new with an Etsy store or with Hipsy, which is something Dax and I have been talking a lot about this weekend.
Yep.
Then you're going to
Trying it
have
out.
general reading. Some people do it just by how many cards. Okay, you can ask two questions and I'll pull three cards for each question or something like that. So I think it's a bit of both, in terms of what people do online because it just really depends upon, who they're trying to bring in. So, and what's popular. Also, there are some tarot readers that deal with the season. So if we already passed Halloween, but
February
if right,
coming
Christmas,
up.
holiday cheer, or Halloween,
Mhm.
what is the shadow work you must do for Halloween or whatever they do. So, some things are seasonal. So it just really depends upon how you go about things. I would say both a combination of both is usually good, especially if people don't really know you, whether you're online or in person. If you're in person, of course, you have no idea who's going to walk up and what they're going to ask. So, yeah, I would just say just a little bit of both, just to be open to that. And then if you really want a specialization, that's great
Mhm.
too. I know this, I just met this one tarot reader who is doing tarot cards, readings and showing the cards on LinkedIn, which I've never seen
Oh,
before.
that's rare.
And she's going at, if you look at her, was it tagline, she really wants to help women entrepreneurs. And she even
Hmm.
talked about why would I do this on LinkedIn? And I thought, wow, that's very unique because there are people who talk about tarot that have a blog post here or there or whatever, but to do video and show cards and on LinkedIn, I said, okay, that's interesting. She's going after her niche of female entrepreneurs. So,
I just want to piggyback on something that Rose said because it's number one, I love it, and number two, it's vitally important, which is the Etsy readers, who me personally, I think 90% of them are charlatans. You might as well go to a sidewalk gypsy, right? The one thing I will say is if you're going to go that route, or maybe if you have your own website,
Hmm.
it's wonderful to set a very low bar for your first read, be it a
hmm
general reading or specific reading, because you gets them in and then you can upsell them once you solve their problem or you give them a direction and you can upsell them to a higher priced reading, right? So I love that
Right.
idea. It's a great strategy,
hmm
especially if you're online,
Hmm.
be it through Etsy or be it through your own website, of doing something like that. It's excellent. To your point about the woman on LinkedIn, you would be surprised how many executives actually are turning, especially since the economy went to shit and
Yeah.
especially since COVID, how
Mm.
many executives are turning to tarot readers.
And
So I
astrologers.
love, and astrologers. So I
Yeah.
love that idea because commonly you wouldn't think to go to LinkedIn, oh, it's for business, which
Right.
means she has her own blue ocean,
Blue Ocean.
right? And for
Yeah,
those
because there's
people who,
there are not a lot of tarot readers on that. There are some
e-
like spiritual life coaches or whatnot, but you
exactly,
don't have a lot of tarot readers
E-
openly doing
e-
videos and stuff there. Yeah.
exactly. So she created her own blue ocean. And that also goes back to why, if you want to specialize, it's important.
hmm
Because if you go into generally, everybody and their mother is a generalist. We all start out that way, right?
Yeah.
So there's 40,000 generalists anywhere you go.
hmm
And they live in a red ocean, meaning the water is red because the people who got there first have eaten all the leads and
Right.
the water is red with their blood, and the rest of us are
Hmm.
fighting over the chum and we barely can make ends meet.
Right.
So if you specialize, you're creating your own
Yeah.
blue ocean, clear
hmm
water, no competition. And
hmm
that's the most important thing that you might consider specializing for. It's easier to find clients when you have no competition.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's
But
one thing I was gonna just add really quickly.
yeah,
I had recently bought a book called, I think it's Taronomics. It's like a connection with, economics. And the whole book,
I
every
want to read that
card
book.
is
Send me the link.
interpreted for the area of finances, so banking and stocks. And
Hmm.
I'll send you the information or the link to it. It's
See,
a
I
fascinating book.
I
I mean, so
think
it's
that
all about if people are in the stock market, if you're in banking, every card is interpreted that way.
I
Go
think
ahead.
that is a great one to specialize in and to do it on LinkedIn because there's so few
hmm
people doing it. To wrap things up here on this discussion, basically it depends. That's the real answer. It's how you want to work. I do want to throw out there though that the people that are doing it online, and when I say online, I don't mean they're on California Psychics or Random or Keen or something. Uh,
Raining.
I mean they're using social media. They're using Instagram, TikTok.
Hmm.
They're using LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Um, the people that are succeeding, they actually are generalist.
Yeah.
But the caveat is that third thing. They have big personalities. Sometimes their big personality is just their fingernails because it's a
Yeah.
all you ever see on their channel is a down shot. I forget what they call that, top down, I think they call it. And the cards are laid out, and you see their hands, and they have fingernails that they just had, done with the acrylics and everything. And a couple of days later, they have different fingernails, so
Hmm.
they're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on those fingernails, let me tell you. But those
Yeah.
fingernails are the personality, like we were talking on yesterday's show. We were
Hmm.
talking about this yesterday. And no, they have a personality. I'm thinking of one guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's like big on Instagram. And he doesn't have a niche. He reads on uh whatever, but he has a specific personality, you
Hmm.
know, and he's very flamboyant, and
Hmm.
has the background all set up, and the candles and you know dresses like dresses up, doesn't do readings like this, in a t-shirt. I mean, he's like a
He
lot
dresses the part. Yeah.
not
Yeah.
always, but a lot of times he's really fancy. And like came up on the show yesterday when I was talking about these waterproof PVC material cards.
Hmm.
And Rose and I were joking, the shower reader or the bubble bath
The
reader. And there you are in the bubble bath. You got the waterproof cards, you got the candles all lined up and everything. What is that doing? It's making a niche. You are the niche. You are the you can still do general readings. You can read on anything, but they're coming to you because of your personality.
Michelle called it was it hot tub tarot?
Hot tub tarot. Yeah, yeah. Actually, that was
It could
coined.
be.
That was coined a while back. I don't even want to say several months. I think it was
Hmm.
like a couple of years ago. We
Wow.
we were joking about. I think it was when I first got this deck, which has been about a couple of years, and we were talking about hot tub tarot and how that would be absolutely perfect. It would kill it on
Yeah.
Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You do longer ones on YouTube where you're laying. Of course, you're gonna get waterlogged, but you're laying it. Bubbles are up to here, and your hands are through. And you got the cards, and you're pulling cards for people, and maybe you have an assistant that's reading. Because you don't want to drop your phone or your laptop in the water. And then you cut up into smaller, short, minute long and 5 minute long reels and
Hmm.
stuff, things that you put on TikTok and Instagram. And someone's going to make $1 million with that idea. So there you go. Take that and run, guys.